concerts. They also present challenging scheduling problems. Such facilities, but also just to get a picture of what kinds of facilities other states have. Unfortunately, is the better from an artistic standpoint, and the larger it is, the better from an economic standpoint, and it's better than an opera or symphony. Proceeding in March, no curtain, and so forth. You probably then includes no debt service costs, and there's no capital financing. And it amounts to
Thank you. That was Field Band, owned by Dr. and Mrs. Class C. Harrison Jr., Joan Thacker, Hogan. I'm Oily.
I think the real bad game we played, if any, was probably against Green Bay, but throughout the whole season we've been kind of like this, and right now it's time that everybody got together, and I think that everybody could sense the real feeling of the team we have been last week against St. Louis.
I realize there's some folks in Texas Stadium who don't realize that you've had a pretty darn good year, haven't you?
I feel that I've had a good year. Of course, I think everybody is speculating again.
Here we go.
Here we go again. What's going to happen now? But I'm satisfied with the year I have. I think that it's all going to come down to the next few games of what kind of great year I'm going to have. And I'm really mentally prepared for it. Physically, I feel great. This is the best shape I've ever been in. That's an old cliche too, but it really applies to me because I can apply it because I know how the other side feels. So I'm ready for this stretch drive, and there's nothing that anybody can do to distract me from it. And I'm sorry that everybody's not behind us because when they get on me, it kind of affects the whole team. And it's not me just personally, but if they realize how really lucky the people are in Dallas to have a football team as such we have and the great people we have playing with the Cowboys, I think that maybe they change their attitude. But if they don't, that's the way it's going to be, and we're still going to win despite a lot of the people.
Could be in Houston, couldn't they?
Philadelphia. I'd like to be in Philadelphia right now.
We use the run more often than we do the pass for two reasons. We think there's less change for our era, and another is we have three fine runners, and we just give the ball to them pretty often. Billy Neal, who was a guard at one time and has moved to the backfield and has turned into an excellent runner. Steve Hollywood, Jimmy Seagroves, and James Bowen are other runners who have been consistent as ground gainers, so we depend on it heavily.
Coach, you've only been averaging about 14 points per game, so that puts a lot of pressure on your defense. You must have a pretty good one.
Yes, we're proud of our defense, too. The defense has played well. We've given up a few points this year, tried to play without error, and depended heavily on the defense.
What do you think you'll have to do to beat Plano? That's a big job.
Well, in playoff games, it's difficult to tell what's going to happen because this is sudden death. The team knows they're playing. If you win, you get another opportunity. If you lose, the season's over. So it's difficult to really tell what's going to happen. We know Plano has a fine football team. They're the defending 3A state champions. They've only lost one game all year. They have outstanding personnel. They're excellently coached, and so it should be a fine high school football game.
No, there's lots more we would like to know. Now, even though we have exchanged 3 film, there are a lot of things don't show up in your film, and plays that they might run against some opponent that are not in these film. We'd like to know more about their split receiver, on his little move that he makes to get open, whether he double fakes any, or just one fake and a break, or just maybe a break. Their passer, we'd like to have more tendencies on him to know what he really likes to do. We've got some opinions, but we haven't, don't know if they're really verified.
Were you able at all to scout them live during your playoff game?
No, just film.
What advantage would that have given you, do you think?
Oh, if some of my staff could have seen them live, we'd have a better impression on speed and quickness, and maybe some defensive coverage in the secondary.
Yes, Ray, we've got 5 All-Americans back, and we feel that we're still a strong team. Most of our strength's in our senior class, and this is always good from a coaching standpoint to have leadership in your senior class.
Could you elaborate a little bit on each of these 5 All-Americans?
Well, our captain, Paul Teachy, is our #1 sprinter, and he's followed up by Ray Ince, and this is where our strength needs to be for Friday night, is in the sprints. We also have a junior, John Thorburn, who came to us by way of South Africa, and he'll also be on our sprint relay and lead us in the 200-yard freestyle. Our next best bet in the national competition is probably our breaststroker, Larry Driver, who is a senior and was placed in both breaststrokes in the NCAAs last year, and we look for him to leadership. And then also another senior, Steve Boster, who will swim in the middle distance freestyle or in the butterfly.
You're jumping right in against some stiff competition, USC.
Yes, Ray, this is the stiffest competition we've ever had, and we're really looking forward to the meet. Peter Dalen, the Olympic coach and the coach at USC, is a very close friend of mine, so I think this is the way the meet came about, and I'm really looking forward to having them here.
As in most of the West Indies, in Haiti they grow sugarcane. And wherever they grow sugarcane, sooner or later someone decides to make rum. The Barbancourts came to Haiti when it was still a French colony. They grew sugarcane when there were only slaves to power the presses, and the presses were made of wood, like this one.
After we have cut the cane on the fields, we bring it to a long time ago they brought it to those presses and squeeze it by introducing the cane between those rolls, and the rolls are turned by the power of oxen. A long time it was slaves.
How long have the Barbancourts been making rum in Haiti?
The Barbancourts came to Haiti to make rum 1765. This is now over 200 years.
Just outside Port-au-Prince, the Barbancourt distilleries have a sample room. Visitors come here to taste the 17 different rum liqueurs made by the Barbancourts and the special straight rum. Some visitors sample all 17. At a cost of only about $2 US a bottle, a great many people buy as well. By the way, Vern and Jack and Murph, they offered free samples for you, but we couldn't figure any way to get them back into the States. So we'll do the next best thing. We'll try them for you, each and every one. Don Harris, just outside Port-au-Prince, Haiti. As Harry Reasoner once said, now to tidy up the set. Thank you, Maurice.
It hasn't been decided, and I'm not in the stage now of doing any planning to move any officers to Love Field for that purpose in that number.
Do you think that that would be your department's job, really, to police Love Field?
Well, whatever the city council and the city manager tell me to do in that respect, I'll certainly provide that level of service. But from a personal standpoint, I do not think that's the department's responsibility, and I would certainly object to it.
Litigation with them having had their attorneys and the like handling the matter, county auditor and some other departments.
It is not. Let's see. This was mine. It is not a class action.
Equal employment.
Equal employment. Yeah.
It may be that the court, this commission is supposed to represent legal representatives.
To discuss this with these two attorneys.
It was discussed with.
Make it clear, I'm not voting for it yet because I just don't completely unsatisfied with myself.
I would like to be back in a field more involved with the field of corrections and with the inmates rather than up here where I am not concerned with that end of it at all after 17 years, and after having worked with the inmates and so forth. I would like to be back there. And if you will, even the job I had before I was put up here on this one.
Too heavily, I think, the response to the present moment of American history, but I think our country is in serious or about images and more concerned with content as a council.
Anything has been decided in that respect.
You won't fill it at all?
In all likelihood, I will fill it. If it demands its use, we certainly will not hesitate to go to it.
Might be used. Is there any specific areas that we can look at now for the shotgun squads at Christmas time?
No, and what I meant by
should your suit be successful, exactly what is it that you want to do?
Put your guns down over here. You got defense, give me an offensive line over there. Got defense, back.
What you're telling us at the moment, you do not believe that we will get $3,100,000
And there's still some areas where there's a question in my mind whether it ought to be in a regular budget. The only reason we put it in revenue sharing was we better not.
We're going to have to. You're correct, Mister, and I think. But.
Well, Jack, I wanted to sort of, I don't know if putting on notice or something, that I'm going to request when we get into budget hearings, that since we have
roughly $2,500,000.
Mr. Maybe the list, and I was talking to Jack about it, it doesn't really look to me like there's any.
That's all we need.
Yes, sir. These are currently all old prints here, but in here we go.
That the council can play a very significant role in bringing together coalitions and bringing together groups and empowering groups with resources and programmatic skills to deal with real problems, such as helping local communities set up nonprofit housing corporations, such as helping bring resources that will aid the development of black business in the black community. I think the role of the council now needs to be more that of enabling meaningful programs to come into being than simply verbalizing or moralizing about the problems of this period. I think the presence of Mr. Barone.
Look over this way, please. Just
This increasing aggression growing not only in the older young people who have very strong aggressive tendencies. In our society, we don't tend to pay much attention to the good things that happen. We're cautious about what you're applying as a reinforcement technique, whether it happens to be money or grades in school or love.
Are there any other women that are at least in sympathy with you or in your same situation?
Not only women. There are many men out here who are in sympathy with my situation.
There are many people, Rousseauian-oriented, who believe that the child comes into the world good. Basically, he is good, and the only thing that corrupts him is society. And if we could get the society more simplified, then man would be good again. You see this among many of the young hippie communes today, where people believe getting back to the simple life will really bring out man's innate goodness. On the other hand, we have a large number of people who take the original sin position, that man basically comes into the world bad, and you have to socialize the little beast in order to teach him to live in a society. This is illustrated in William Golding's book, Lord of the Flies. I think the first
I thought the president.
Yeah, they all look in order to me. I approve.
You want these signed too? Roman, you're in charge, man.
Wes, you going to say a little something about it?
All right. I hereby approve.
The U.S. Navy's first and only woman admiral commissioned 11 student nurses as ensigns in the Navy Nurse Corps today. 8 of them were young women who now have the same chance as men for promotion to flagship ranks. Rear Admiral Eileen Dirk erased the traditional barrier to women with her promotion to the 3rd highest rank in the Navy.
As far as the Nurse Corps officers who are being commissioned this afternoon, these women will have increased opportunities for promotion and possibly be able to attain a higher rank at an earlier time than what I had been able to achieve during my career. When we talk about the overall picture of women in the Navy, they have increased opportunities for selection, for new jobs, for new careers, than the opportunity for increased rank.
Miss Dirk doesn't think a woman's role in the Navy will change overnight, but within 5 or 10 years, she thinks the Navy is going to be a place where sex doesn't count, at least in promotions. Martha McIntyre, Channel 8 News on the Move.
The governing board of the National Council of Churches is dead. In its last gasp last night, the 800-member delegation voted calling the Vietnam War immoral, condemning drug traffic, and urging quality child care services. A black was named president of the new, more streamlined governing board, and broader representation will supposedly be offered women, ethnic groups, and youth. Reverend Ari Brower, a member of the new governing board, commented to me about those resolutions.
One of the difficulties with all the expression was the vast number of resolutions that came as a result. Some of the resolutions had serious attention, and some of them were dealt with by people who didn't know a great deal of what they were voting on, which does something to lessen the force of all of them. So one of the questions that the new governing board will have to deal with will be the accountability that the members of that board feel to each other and the denominations supporting the council feel, the support for the resolutions. It'll have to discipline itself to deal with more force with resolutions that it considers of primary importance.
The first full meeting of the new governing board will be in February. For Channel 8 News on the Move, this is Judy Hanna in Dallas.
My organization is pro-business, not anti-consumer. I'm not trying to replace any consumer agency in any shape or form. On the contrary, everybody has went wild trying to capitalize on the consumerism movement. So far, nobody has spoke out for the businessman. I am not anti-consumer, but my whole purpose of being is to be a voice for the business people and to back the business people in the community against some of the unfair consumer legislation, against some of the eccentric consumer groups that we have cropping up now. And I'm not going to name names today because I don't think it's necessary to get into personalities.
You think they've done more harm than good?
They're doing a lot of harm, yes they are.
Well, a quarterback is Jeff Brumbaugh, and Jeff executes our offense well, throws the ball well, and has good poise and good leadership about him. Our other 2 running backs are Rucker Lewis, who's our fullback, and this is his 3rd year to start for us, so his experience has paid off, and he's done a good job this year for us. Our other running back is Glenn Sanders, and Glenn has alternated in the past and is alternating right now with Tony Wallace, and they're both doing a good job.
Lewis is your big gun, though, isn't he?
Well, I guess so as far as yardage is concerned, but they're all important to us.
What about your defensive team? I understand that you aren't too big.
Well, compared to a lot of people, I guess we're not very large, but they understand what they're trying to do, and we do have good quickness, and that's helped quite a bit.
You try to maintain an equal balance on offense and defense rather than one perhaps carrying the other one a little more?
Well, I think they kind of complement each other, and both have done a good job for us.
Coach, it's been extremely cold all week. If it continues through the weekend, what kind of a factor would that be?
Oh, I never have played in one I thought was too cold. I don't think it gets quite that cold down here. Hope not, anyway.
Spark? Well, he was talking about, you know, the fact that everybody seemed to play with 60 minutes of intensity in the ball game.
Yeah, I think it's coming down to the end of the thing, and we have another shot at it, I think. We will have another shot at it. I hope we do. And we've got a lot of old pros on this team, and we'll get a lot more shots at it, so I think everybody's going to try to put it together and try to do it one more time. It'd be great if we could do it, and I think we have a good chance.
Okay, Dave, given that, you say you've got a lot of old pros in the ball club. Is there a point during the season when you guys, as a team, in effect say, to heck with the coaches, to heck with the fans, it's us, so we got our backs against the wall, we'll just do it our own way?
That's what we said last week. That's what's happening now. Yeah, it's all on the line now, so we either do it or we don't, and we'll see.
Are you confident?
Yeah, we got a good football team, you know, and that's a fact, you know. Every game we've been in this year, we've dominated it at the first, and we haven't been quite as hungry this year as we have in the past because we did it last year and we're the champions. But now it's we have another shot at it, and you know, make some more of that dough. So that's
helps with the house payments, doesn't it?
That's the name of the game.
During our course of the season, we've been maybe a little more explosive on offense, and we've played a mighty good defensive ball game these last 4 games, and our defense has really come of age, and we've gotten experience there and come on real strong defensively.
Coach, East Texas got into the finals by blanking Central Oklahoma 54-0. You are here by way of a tie and penetrations. Are you in awe of the East Texas team?
Well, let me say this. We respect East Texas. We're not all fearful of East Texas, but we respect them, and that 54-0 score is a very impressive score. And I can understand why they are playing this championship ball game, and I feel like that our club is worthy of this type of challenge, and hopefully we'll make that history tomorrow.
Your ball club is not lacking in confidence, then?
No, sir. We feel like that if we had been, we wouldn't have made the trip. We let somebody else come and play.
The cost of running Tarrant County's John Peter Smith Hospital is roughly $15 million a year. It's mainly supported by the assessment of 75 cents per $100 valuation property tax in the county and about a 33% collection on hospital bills. One of the major problems any county hospital district faces in major metropolitan areas is that they cannot turn away any patient who requires treatment according to law. So many patients who come to John Peter Smith Hospital do not even reside in the county. And according to county officials here, that means they are getting a free ride while Tarrant County citizens are footing the bill. That's the opinion of County Judge Howard Green, and when I visited him today, he said he is already pushing for state legislation to remedy the situation.
I've attended a couple of meetings in Austin and in Dallas concerning legislation that will enable the taxpayers of this county to get it off their back for paying for the indigent patients in surrounding counties, other counties throughout Texas.
We have people coming in from other counties
That's
around
true.
Tarrant County. How much is it costing us a year, do you know?
$250,000 a year, and they come from as far away as Hardin County.
Have you spoke with any legislators about this legislation?
Yes, the chairman of the Tarrant County delegation, Dave Finney, has been apprised of it and is very interested in trying to do something about it, and I've also found a receptive ear from Senator Betty Ann DeHar, and I also plan to talk to Senator Bill Meyer.
While the cost of treating indigent patients from outside Tarrant County is $250,000 in Fort Worth, the cost in Dallas, Harris, and Bexar counties are said to be twice or even triple that amount. Judge Green said he expects other county officials across the state to back the legislation. Jim Green, Channel 8 News on the Move in Fort Worth.
To a lot of people across the nation, the old-fashioned Christmas tree with its sticky needles and prickly limbs just isn't worth the trouble. So manufacturers responded to consumer demands and created the artificial Christmas tree. Dallas consumers want to know how to buy a safe plastic tree. The Food and Drug Administration advises consumers to look for labels when buying these trees. Trees in compliance with flammability tests are usually labeled fireproof or fire retardant. If the tree isn't labeled, obviously the consumer should check with the FDA or store to see just what this tree is made of. There are two kinds of plastic trees. The PVC, short for polyvinyl chloride, which has long needles locked into wire branches, and an added benefit, it won't burn. On the other hand, there's a more natural-looking tree, the polyethylene, but be sure and have plenty of water pails on hand for sudden fires. Linda Fitzgerald, a student at North Texas, wants to make a career out of genetic counseling. She asked Contact 8 how one latches onto a job like this. Well, Linda, we did a little research and found that Darlene Wise of Forest Avenue Hospital in Dallas can give you all the details. And a viewer on Hatton Street in Dallas fears that criminal types could be lurking behind the tall weeds and trees between Hatton and Cicely Streets. Dallas Streets and Sanitation Department did not find any gangsters in this wooded area, but did issue a cleanup notice to the owner of the property. The violation has now been corrected. If you have any problems or questions, write me at Contact 8, Communications Center, Dallas. Please include a stamped, self-addressed envelope. That's Contact 8. I'm Cecile Burant.
In some ways, I look back and see all my contemporaries not with me anymore. And then I look to the future and see what it holds, how different the construction is than it was 72 years ago when I started out. Everything then was mule power and strong backs.
Well, I know your life has been devoted, sir, to heavy construction, that is highways, airports, railroads. What do you think about the new regional airport?
Well, it's about the greatest thing that man has ever conceived, I guess. And there is more concentrated machinery out there, more cranes and more mechanized equipment than I suppose has ever been assembled any place before in the world.
Sir, you spent all your life doing this. Are you envious of such a situation as we have at the airport with all that congregation of equipment?
Well, yes, it's pretty hard for a mule man to conceive what has taken place, because that, of course, is the world's premier airport, I suppose, and the immensity of it is just almost beyond comprehension.
Mr. Allhands, of course, your life has been devoted to heavy construction, but what about the new building going up across the street? Do you watch it much through binoculars, or?
Yes, I have. I watched it with amazement. So much work is done with a crane. Now, I'm not a building contractor, but it amazes me about how many cranes they use in the erection of these buildings.
By the way, there's a gentleman here that has a presentation for you, Mr. Chuck Kugler, who is the president of the Dallas chapter of the Associated General Contractors. Mr. Kugler?
Mr. Allhands, on behalf of the Dallas AGC chapter, I'd like to present you this hard hat because we know that safety is an ageless problem that faces us in our construction efforts. So on behalf of Dallas AGC chapter, I'd like to present you this hard hat.
This hard hat is something that's come into use in the last few years. When I started construction 72 years ago, we didn't have any safety first programs. It is just up to the labor to take care of himself. We had lots of hurts and even deaths, but it is considered a part of opening up a new country. And now we have all these safety measures, and I'll appreciate this from you, Mr. Kruger, and from your membership.
Looking at our
having been appointed ensign in the United States Navy,
police who have supported them through this.
I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States
against all enemies, foreign and domestic.
Against all enemies, faithfully discharge
the duty of the office on which I am about to enter.
Chief Gates, to be able to. Lorna Jean Ramsey, Texas Women's University. Oliver. West, Oklahoma Baptist University. And Janice Wilkinson, Oklahoma Baptist University. I think this takes Texas Christian University. Martha.
And federal, and the business people themselves. This will be completely politically coming up, what it means to them, and asking their viewpoint. And if
Arriving passenger Boyle, Mr. Larry Boyle. Please contact the nearest
Where's Mel? I think one of the...
Larry's down the stairs.
Yeah, second half was, in fact, most of the yards gained in the second half came on penalties.
How you do, Jim?
See?
Nice to see you.
Man, I understand we're going to have some new legislation, or we hope we will.
Yes, sir, that's right.
Good.
To give you a treatment today, Ms. Johnson, I think that we ought to start an ID with B5W.
Put the bird machine over there. Doesn't have the mask on.
I haven't been,
All right, sir, you ready to go?
Let's go.
Mr. All Hands, you're recognized as one of the oldest general contractors in the country. How do you feel about that now?
Well,